Welcome back to Masters Tour Bucharest. We've got plenty more Hearthstone coming up for you. I am Raven and joining me is Lorinda. And we've got a spicy match here. We're going into round number 7, so we are edging towards the end of the Swish portion of the bracket.
Yeah, it's getting there now. This is where people, I mean, every single round is worth the same, but you start feeling that they're worth more at this stage. Kin, Eddie, Hypno, and Orange, the 6-0 squad. Looking good if they get one more win. They've got a very good chance at that top 8.
Yep.
And that's a really good top 8 looking lineup already.
It really is. Even early on yesterday, it was looking very good. And now we have Dizdemon versus xBlyzes. I'm just going to probably just call him Blyze for the rest of this. But we see the double priest ban as well. So getting back to more, I would say more natural expected Hearthstone. I'm just going to double check, but I am pretty sure both priests are just the combo priests, you know, the Blunt Sandy, the Divine Spirit, the Inner Fire. So just like what I'll say is the regular bans kicking out now, but it does mean that there is Druid, Rogue, and Shaman, which is the other 3 classes, which again, we expect the Shaman and the Priest, but then like Druid and Rogue for the 2 other classes in the lineup is honestly not what I expected going into this tournament.
And I know you've been looking to get your teeth into some Druid.
Oh yeah.
You're a bit of a Druid fanboy at this particular moment?
I am. I'm just going to double check. Both players do have Druid, but both players have decided to disappoint me greatly and not play Malygos. They're playing the King Theoris, the more like sort of, I guess, more regular Druid in terms of it just drops. It's not better than Malygos, don't get me started, Lorinda. But it has more of a straightforward plan of just creating waves and waves and waves of big minions that is very difficult for most archetypes to deal with. The real question with that deck is it's quite predictable in that your opponent knows exactly what you're going to do towards the middle to the end of the game, and it's just if they're playing something that can actually deal with that or put on a lot of pressure beforehand and try and punish the rough early game that any Quest Druid has.
And given that both players have Shaman, or Shaman, and yeah, the early game is pretty pressury there.
Yeah, and especially just with Blyze having Rogue, like that could be a tough matchup because Rogue has such good early game and such good early game consistently. Shaman, although I think the matchup's not as bad as people think it is against Druid, or the Druid's not as bad against the Shaman, should I say. I think that sometimes the Shaman's early game is just little minions that don't really do much, whereas Rogue's early game are often minions that kill you pretty quickly. So we can take a look at Dizdemon's list. Again, like I said, the King Theoris / Scenarius version, very minion focused. But Dizdemon is a player I know you've been a fan of for a very long time, Lorinda, and he has been one of the most consistent Hearthstone players maybe we've ever had that hasn't really, I would say, made it big outside of, you know, the pro scene and like us as casters' knowledge of him.
Yeah, when I very first did HCT in 2015, I believe, whenever the first season
Back in the day.
When he got to the 3rd season, he was the player who had the highest win rate even then in those qualifiers and never made it through to champs. And he sort of never quite hit it. He's had some good results, but never really made his name. But another French player trying to get into Grandmasters.
Yeah, it's going to get kind of squished in there in terms of just the volume of French players that will be around. But looking at this Quest Shaman as well, it is the list I like, or at least close enough to it. It's basically just the Evolve Shaman of before the new cards came in, with the addition of the Evolve and the Hair package. There's a former champ in there as well, so even more late game and even more maybe just Evolve targets in there. So we'll see how it plays out going forward.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was making about the Druid. I wasn't laughing at your love of Malygos. It's basically the same Druid deck as it was, and now you've got Kun in there as well, so you're good to go.
Yeah, the big difference there for Kun is that it's just another late game option for Druid to gain enough health. And it might not be enough health to just, you can go infinite, but that's just, you know, a bit silly sometimes. But the 10 armor for pretty much free is enough health often to push you out of these like hero power, life drinker, kobold ranges and stuff in terms of just dying in that matchup specifically. But for Druid against Shaman, it's all about just getting to 10 mana safely is the key.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some. I just like watching Druid. I've always liked Druid. I'm one of those people who even liked 14U, Jade U. Yeah. Always the good themes.
I like Jade Druid because it was just a deck I could play whilst like watching a show or something. It was just, Jade generation, pass, watch the show.
I can't multitask on that level. I can't even watch this and cast it. I usually just talk at the same time as not watching.
Hey, you just say things and hope they're right.
Yeah.
Which, hey, you're here, so it can't be going that bad.
Just means other people say even more things wrong, probably.
That's true.
Or they couldn't find anybody.
Honestly, that's actually what me and Derek have talked a lot about during Grandmasters. Is I feel like Hearthstone, especially during GM, was very much who makes the least mistakes wins as opposed to who does anything flashy. Because outside of Alan yesterday, who did do some very, very flashy things, it's often about just who gives their opponent the less openings to take the game. But let's go into it. Round number 7 of the Swiss portion of this tournament. Dizdemon on the top on the King Forest / Daenerys Druid, and xBlyzes on the bottom on the Quest Shaman. So we do get this matchup. I know so many people think the Shaman is just so favored, and the Hair Evolve package definitely helps with that. But I still think the Druid's got some game, especially when they have a good opening like this.
Yeah, but look at this turn 1. It's interesting already. Choosing to just get the Crystal Merchant down, which is obviously a fantastic card, get that hand filled up. A lot of people out there who are going to deny it in chat would have gone Untapped Potential, Innovate, pass.
Yep, I think so. I do think after much consideration, I was one of those people who would just kind of turbo the quest no matter what. But in a roundabout way, this just did very quickly, for me at least, just get solved in the fact that if you can, you just should. Because especially against Quest Shaman, you know what they're going to play, and you know the Merchant farms their minions.
Yeah, and you have a little tiny bit more time than you think as well. Not a lot more, but your instincts are, oh no, I'm going to be dead on turn 4. But actually, yeah, sometimes you are. But if you can just get through 4 or 5, you can do that more often than you think. It's still tough, though. I mean, you're playing against Shaman. It's tough. That's kind of what people have concluded.
It's actually a pretty big deal for Blyze there, where because he got the Hogsteed, it means that if it's traded into, there's still a minion left on board. And already, if we look at his hand, we can see Mogu, we can see Mutate, we can see Evolve, even good Evolve targets outside of that with the Cable Rat. So now you just see Dizdemon with the hero power showing a lot of respect to say, I am not going to trade in this Death Rattle minion that leaves a minion on the board. I'm going to just lower the size of the board as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely key to do that for really obvious reasons.
This makes sense too.
So now we get into the MC Tech game. You know, put your board to 3 minions, then put it to a lot of minions, and just either you don't care or you don't lose one.
Yeah, I think most importantly, almost all the time the Shaman shouldn't really care about the MC Tech in Dizdemon's list, because you can't just play 3 minions as Shaman most of the time, unless it's exactly like a Hair Evolve turn, which is very strong. But most importantly, xBlyzes just wants to get Mogu on the board, get it evolved, try and do something crazy. And right now, he could Mogu with Mutate. He could even play the Lackey if he wants to just have an extra minion on board. But right now, because there's nothing to trade into, it's probably not worth it. Whereas this play makes should make a fairly sturdy board, and then have a Mogu Mutate option next turn. Not bad stats-wise either.
Yeah, very solid. Evolve, nothing terrifying coming out, but getting it done quite well. And now it's decision time for Dizdemon. Does he want to complete quests? I mean, of course he wants to. Does he feel he can without getting battered? I think he can.
Oh, second Oasis Surger. That's pretty okay for this turn.
And then it's okay next turn because you've got the quest completed.
But honestly, I think this turn is Mind Control Tech, pick Oasis Surger, win the game.
And he agrees.
Yeah, this is insane.
Engaging TC-130 until
the good steal as well. And now, this is where the game gets hard already, because there's Oasis Surgers to pile down and beat up the minions of xBlyzes, and then there's Starfall if the board ever gets too hot to handle. There's Nourish, which means Dizdemon can ramp and draw cards. And there's Zephyrus that obviously isn't active yet, but after Nourish, you'd be surprised how quickly Zephyrus becomes active in this list. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I find that with every deck. Like, it just becomes... people started putting in decks in case, and suddenly everyone realised there's so much card draw and so much focus on rifling through your deck at the moment, in the decks that aren't spewing minions everywhere. You just make it active turn 10 in anything.
Here we go. Mogu. Gonna get that trade that he wanted maybe to be available last turn. Go for the Mutate, and the winner is... Can't see yet. Geppetto. That's kind of bad.
Sorry, I've just gone blank because I was sure Dizdemon was 6-0. I said that at the start.
Oh, okay.
Apparently he's 5-1.
Jeez, get your stats right, Lorinda.
I mean, it's a coin flip at this point. Who is right? That's what I'm going with.
Oof, Lorinda challenges
his
the actual score. Okay, so there's the Starfall going to come down. I do like this. Oasis Surger didn't do as much, and the Starfall was so good just to get rid of the 8-drop that, again, for all Dizdemon knows, could have been evolved again into a much, much more powerful minion outside of the 6/6 Geppetto. And now just these minions aren't that much of a threat. And Dizdemon, although he's taking some damage, look at this board, it's nothing.
Yeah, where have we got to in Hearthstone where we can look at this board and say it's nothing? You're right, I'm not criticising.
We've got 2 Oasis Surges existing in the game, that's where.
Absolutely insane.
Look at this, just Wrath, Surger, goodbye board. And then Blaze is going to have to get Novice Engineer almost. Exactly. Or maybe Lucky Generation, of course. Another Cable Rat would help out with that hero power now live, but this is just... And now there's even the Flute Oasis Surger, which is insane. There's Kun for the turn 10. So next turn, I imagine Dizdemon's going to go Nourish into the Anubisath Defender, into X, just to be able to say, well, actually, you could even Nourish into the Flute Oasis Surger, which is insane.
And the thing we haven't mentioned, this is not your ordinary control deck for Druid. Obviously, it's a little bit more like a combo deck. Quest plus not playing cards is a combo, apparently. But xBlyzes is going to have 2 turns, or he's dead.
I think xBlyzes is already dead.
When it turns the corner, it hits you really hard. It's not a case of, oh, he's got 4 more turns, like maybe against a control warrior in some situations where they don't draw their Nazoth, and you're just like, okay, I've still got some time to just do my thing.
There is a key point here now. Maybe I jumped the gun on the Oasis Surger, because I guess he only goes 4 wide. If he plays the Oasis Surger, I don't think he should play the Anubisath, because it makes just exactly mind control tech very, very good, because all of these minions have rush. So it means that hero power mind control tech could steal 2 Surges that then kill the Anubisath and another Surger. So I really like this hold from Dizdemon. Normally when you can play an Anubisath, you just do because it's free, but here is great because it means that the one thing that could mess this game up is if hero power mind control tech steals 2 minions. Whereas this is just, if it comes down, he knows what happens. He ends up with 10 damage on board.
Buys himself just a bit more time here. Has got an evolve. It's not even an out. An evolve continuation.
But now, now you just go. Play it all.
Play the cards. You know your opponent's hand quite accurately.
Yep. The only thing Dizdemon will be thinking about right now is if exactly Shudderwock is drawn, what happens? Because there are 2 MC techs, I think, in the pool now. There is some things that could go wrong, but I think a 1 in 18, you say, well, yeah, every other time I just win the game.
You've just got to work out if that 1 in 18 is actually making things worse, not better. It might be more than 1 in 18. If you don't
I would take a
chances.
17 out of 18 chance to just win the game.
I'd take a 1 in 18 chance to just win any game. And it is 5-1, by the way. Apologies to anyone who may have been insulted by my insinuations. xBlyzes, of course, also French. So...
Who isn't at this point? In Hearthstone Masters Tours, at least, I feel like it's a very... They've been proving themselves, those guys.
I mean, we all insulted them in like the 2017 HCG by not picking them to win, or 2018, and since then they've just won everything. It's like, okay. Plenty of damage.
Has to be exactly Shudderwock to have any kind of chance. That isn't it. Mogu is going to tickle one of these minions and then take a quick backswing to death. Dizdemon takes game number 1, and I am citing that sample size of 1 game that Druid is fine versus Shaman.
Can't argue with that, Matt.
Yep. It's looking pretty good, though. It's really tough to come back. The second they can get to that quest without something silly happening, again, I will mention, of course, there was no hair evolve, but there was an evolve, and then there was a Mogu and mutate. Pretty much of a low roll, got hit in Geppetto, I think, but still, looked pretty solid to me.
With the benefit of hindsight, I mean, I like the evolve. I think it was the right play, but there was the option to hold it. He had a lot of minions in hand. Hold it, get a bigger board, but if you wait too long, you just die. That's the problem. And you sort of have to connect early.
I think the biggest issue is an evolve onto a board of 1/1s, or, you know, like say lackeys or totems, whatever. Most of that evolve still dies to a Starfall. So it just doesn't matter most of the time. And I think a lot of that from xBlyzes was just, I'm going to evolve and hope Starfall's not there. And if it's not, I can make stuff happen. Because you can't just wait and wait and wait for hair or something incredible to happen. Because if it doesn't, the Druid just pulls way further ahead and you just die a few turns quicker.
Yeah, you kind of want to lock the Druid into having to spend its mana so it can't do its quest, so it can't do its things, and then you just kill
Honestly,
them.
A lot of the time, you make one of the big 5-drops, i.e. Starfall or Oasis Surger, you try and make one of them bad.
Yeah.
So that they have to have the good one, and if they don't, you're in a decent spot. And if they do, well, they do, and that's just the way the game works.
Yeah, so you take your chance, you win early, you take your chance that you get the 50-50 if they've only got one of the 2 cards, which is likely You tend to, if you pick 2 Hearthstone cards in your first 4 or 5 turns, you'll have one and not the other. It's kind of a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, especially with Worthy Expedition. Then it means that because all the ones you're scared of are choose ones, it means that if they play that early as well, you're really afraid because, again, there's multiple good choices from that. But let's move on to game number 2. Dizdemon on the top, going to be on his Quest Shaman now, and xBlyzes is going to be on this Rogue, and this Rogue is, as you can see, just a little bit of a different version that maybe we've seen today, because it does run that Nomi, and outside of that, it is still the Discover. There's Shaku the Collector in there as well, but the Nomi is very much the last ditch of just Myra's into Nomi that we used to see in, but the rest of it is 2 Hench Clan Burglars, Shaku the Collector, Snip Snap, Quest and Adventurers as well, so the very much new style of Rogue we've been seeing.
Yeah, that's come from nowhere in the last few days, really, for me. I mean, Rogue decks always come from nowhere because there's always a big pool of cards that work really well with Rogue, so exact builds come and go, but seeing the Nomi thrown in there is interesting because you've got a plan for the whole tournament, but a sign that he wasn't going to be getting rid of warriors, maybe. Yeah,
and also just there's plenty of, I feel like the decks in the game now are either Shaman or slow decks, right? Like slow kind of clunky decks. So the Nomi just having 1 card in there that might help out versus many of the matchups. Again, I mentioned this to Derek yesterday, but when you're preparing a lineup, you aren't preparing it for just a couple of opponents like in Grandmasters. You're preparing it for hundreds of players.
Yeah, it's a very different thing. And it was something I was saying about how Hypno has done well in tournaments in general. You can't prepare for Hypno.
Right.
There's 280 players. You just have to shut your eyes and hope he's not the guy you bump into. And he just takes advantage of that by being the guy that somebody bumps into. Kind of how the rules are.
Yep. Someone has to play them. Right now, though, with that backstab, pretty big deal. It means there's a big cleave going to hit the board this turn. And again, now, Dizdemon's not really got the best way to deal with this, especially because I imagine the cat's going to be traded in, which means no mind control tech is even available in Dizdemon hands, of course, but it means that it's not even going to work anyway.
It's not even going to work anyway, even if it was going to.
That makes no sense.
I thought I'd highlight that. But Dizdemon doesn't have a long to sort anything out now, so he's not just planning for this turn. It's like, well, anything I play this turn's getting dealt with if he wants to deal with it. What do I want to do? When do I want to get my swing turn? And he is just saying, okay, now.
Rain of Toads, not too bad if he feels he needs to buy some time later on. He is getting aggroed down a little bit. The Quest Shaman definitely transitions into a more of a sustain/control deck, kind of, against a deck such as Rogue, just because Rogue plays so aggressively.
But now there's an open goal for the Rogue. It's like you didn't put out enough defense, which we knew you wouldn't be able to. And your swing turn better be good.
And you can see pretty quickly now that xBlyzes is just planning on just pushing damage from this cleave every single turn. And that's how he's going to win the game unless something pretty big happens. There is... It's super annoying here because both 2 turns in a row now, apart from this Faceless Lackey fixing the problem, meant that Dizdemon couldn't Mogu and evolve in the same turn. This Faceless was clutch, not only because he gets a good trade, but it means he gains that extra mana and cheats it out to be able to evolve. He gets a really bad drop in the form of the Hug Tusk, but still, the Hogsteed helps a little bit.
I mean, yeah, but it's just nothing like what he was hoping for. It trades into a 3-1.
It literally dies from a discovered minion.
And you've no longer got an evolve.
And he just drew the hair. That's going to feel bad.
Yeah. So 20 seconds thinking time while you process how unlucky you've just got been, and then you move on with your turn.
It's not looking too good, is it?
Not looking good at all. Yeah, this is just the definition of not looking good.
It looks like a bit of a weird setup here, but there's a kind of dual benefit where, because there's 4 minions on the board and you can argue all of them are priority kills,
yes.
If a hair is left, it means Barista can come down and generate another hair. If Dizdemon is even in the spot to even be able to be playing for a long game plan. But honestly, right now, because there's been no good tempo plays, there's been no good removal, and that evolve was kind of a whiff, to be honest, it means that this Van Cleef is, again, just solo in this game.
Yeah, and xBlyzes was able to split the damage up a bit there, knowing there's no evolve in hand, because your opponent just floated 1 mana and played a hair. It's like fairly easy read.
Wait, Dizdemon just hovering that Rain of Toads, but I think Lackey Wasp with Elemental was better. I guess the problem with it is it doesn't clear off the Nomi, and then there's no taunts in the way. But
yeah, this buys him time to find something to turn the hair into a miracle, right?
And he's going to trade out to the card.
All right. So just working out his ordering in advance, so he can work out how much of the card generators he can actually play. And then he'll play them first and see how his turn is impacted.
Vendetta being in hand along with Underbelly Fence means that there's just so much value for the mana cost here for Blyze, just being able to clear up a lot of this board.
But again, he's just stopped and worked out, okay, I've got enough mana this turn to play the Blink Fox, so let's play that first and pick up another garbage card. Actually, it's not that bad.
Is this just... No. I think he was working out whether it was lethal, right? Whether he could get lethal here, because the dagger could have killed the 3-1. There's 12 damage on board. There's a Leroy in hand. Wait, did he... Is there a way he missed it there? If he Leroy'd, push... Oh, you might have been close.
Was it one off?
Yeah, I think it was really close. Still, though, Dizdemon's going to have to do something quite magnificent here. Hero Power Sandstorm Elemental is pretty sick. There is now Mind Control tech as well. But there's just not the mana, which is what worried me last turn with... I understand having the taunts up was huge, and he probably would have lost the game if he'd gone for a different play. But... now he's just got so little mana that he doesn't really do much anyway. He steals the Blink Fox and the Nomi, but that's just going to be...
He needs to steal both the big minions and have xBlyzes not have Leroy in hand. And none of those conditions were met. It goes to 1 game apiece.
It does, and Quest Shaman losing both as well is going to feel a little bit rough, and it's something I'm interested in going forward. I need to check on it after this match. Is just the win rate of Quest Shaman in this tournament so far, because there's always a fear that when a deck is so popular and so powerful, it's expected to be in everyone's lineup. So does everyone else bring decks that can do well versus it, and then does the win rate suffer?
Well, the win rate suffers because the decks that don't do well against it get banned. It gets banned. So the ones that are willing to take it on are the only ones who are actually fighting it. So the win rate definitely suffers a lot. You kind of have to factor in bans, which is hard to do, to see how good the win rate really is. If it's banned, it's one.
Yeah, I guess you can take that, yeah. It's just very interesting in this meta because Priest and Shaman is so popular as like a guaranteed almost 2 picks. It means that, well, one gets banned, but the other one still has to perform. And I feel like the Priest consistently does better than the Shaman, at least in my mind. I'm sure there are plenty of people who would argue with me on that one, though.
I mean, it comes down to the deck building process, is what you think you're going to ban, and then you've got all your other 3 decks, because you expect what's going to be banned of yours.
Right.
So to put sort of fine-tuning into the decks within the context of a tournament is why we, for years, preached don't necessarily play these card for card on ladder. If something looks weird, it's probably in there for the tournament because of a situation that is a hole in the lineup. Yeah,
that's true. I was even talking to Sayan this morning just about, he was just saying, talking about builds and what cards he was considering when he was working on lineups. He was like, oh yeah, well you play this because you're going to be running up against this, and it's specifically in a tournament and for that meta and everything as well. So Dizdemon and xBlyze 1-1. I do believe we are going to go to a break while we set up the next game though, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Masters talk. We're back with Dizdemon versus xBlyzes, and it is all even 1-1. So we are going to be going into game number 3 very, very shortly. And again, you know, just carrying on the conversation we were having at the end of that game, the quest shaming for each player has lost once already in this series. And I wonder if that's going to be the trend, and I wonder if that's going to be the deck in a weird way that they have to get the win with, which in Conquest or Standard Conquest is always like that one deck that you really need to win with, or you might be stuck on it, right?
Yeah, and you never thought it in your whole life it was going to be Shaman in this meta. But if they get to a Shaman mirror in game 5, that's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, there is the Paladin Shaman left for Dizdemon, and the Shaman and the Druid left. And the Paladin as well, just going to take a quick look, is everyone's new favorite deck, which is the Highlander Secret Paladin, which I think at least not the casters expected to see here, but how wrong we were. Sometimes, once in a blue moon, we do get it wrong.
I feel
the rest
like
of the time, it's 100% right.
We've just cast like 100 of these matches, but it's like Luinda and Raven. They think that the deck's not very good. Let's make them cast it until they're convinced it is. It's been doing well, to be fair.
And this is really funny as well, because it has like a Hungry Crab in it. So just for those pesky Murlocs that are dotting around, and you know, could come in pretty handy in this matchup as we go into game number 3. Dizdemon on this Paladin, and then xBlyzes is going to be on this Shaman once again.
Finley on 2 coming up potentially.
He can Hungry Crab his own Finley. He's a genius.
Actually, that's amazing.
It's actually really bad.
No. Just looking at these opening hands, obviously the Shaman hand never looks great, or it always looks great, depending whether you're an optimist or a pessimist, until it's developed. But this looks like a perfectly functional hand. But I like this Demon's hand here. It's going to be able to, yeah, this choice just means he's going to shoot everything out the sky.
Right, and
even evolve this.
Even xBlyzes having to play the Evil Totem into a guaranteed 2-mana dead turn does suck a little bit. But also, I do like Dizdemon's just calling Finley. Not only is it a good minion to start beating down these early kind of badly statted Shaman minions, but also, you know, the hero power you are maybe even forced to press on turn 2 if you don't draw anything is going to be good, right? Whichever one you pick,
yeah,
it's going to be pretty decent.
Dudes, draw a card at worst. You probably don't even get to draw a card ever. Just shoot things and make things.
Look how bad this feels. Just hair on curve as 3 1/1s. 2 of them, again, can die all the time if Dizdemon wants to. But I think now xBlyzes, although it looks like a bad turn in general, is pretty heads up, because it's unlikely that all 3 die. He has a Witchy Lackey to evolve, and if Dizdemon wants to play a card this turn, then only 1 dies, which means he can actually, if he really needs to, play the Mogu next turn as well.
Yeah, with that in mind, he's going to play this Snip Snap, realizing that if I can't deal with all 3, that's not good enough, so ignore the problem, sort it out next turn.
There's Mogu and a Witchy Lackey. So that Evil Totem taking the sacrifice for the guaranteed death is going to pay off right now.
And it's...
okay.
It will do just fine. Shaman playing 7/7s on turn 4. Who would have thought?
Ooh, though, that's a good pickup. Zephyrus, although it's probably more memorable getting lethals and such for players. I think the fact that Zephyrus is just 2 mana, you can remove a thing you want to remove, is pretty powerful in itself. Although Dizdemon does not have to go for it this turn. He could go for the Annoying module, which is very likely to just tank the 7 attack. Or he could even just go for the Bellringer Sentry as well.
It's arguably more powerful early on, because when you get to turn 10 and you're going to win a game and you just play your Zephyrus as your win condition, that could be quite a lot of other cards that would still work, but wouldn't be as efficient. When you're playing it in the middle game, you're actually finding a card that you haven't got in your deck that does a thing you need right now.
And interestingly enough, I'm just going to go for it this turn and sap and say, well, now it's an 8-mana 7/7, which now definitely sucks. It wasn't bad being evolved, but now it's a whole lot of nothing, and Dizdemon has control of the board. Former Champ's going to hit. It's going to come down now, but ooh.
Yeah, and this
is actually close.
This is the downside of putting too many things, potentially, or more things that you can evolve in your deck. You've only got a limited number of evolves, so that's why we don't see this in every deck.
I wonder how good a Annoying module with, say, maybe preload and avenge this turn.
That sounds reasonable to me.
He could trade the 2/2 into the 1/1, then annoy module it, put Avenge on, and then have Risa down for next turn. It looks like he's going to go for the Bellringer Sentry with the Avenge so that there's an instant payoff if Blyze trades into anything. If you don't know what Avenge does, it effectively buffs another minion if one minion dies on your side of the board.
And there aren't many times the Bellringer Sentry actually sort of gets to do much, so you might as well play it while it does, I guess is the point.
Oh, pretty mediocre to bad options here. Zap just being the generically best one. Still, nothing lines up that well here for Blyze.
No, his whole hand is fine, but irritating.
It's just mana, right? Like, mana plus damage you need to do. Like, the Wasp doesn't quite kill the Sentry, especially doesn't now. The Wasp on the snip stat doesn't feel good either. He can't even Wasp zap the Sentry now. So it's just nothing added up well. So I think Blyze has to just suck it up and say, right, over 2 turns, I will do something about this board.
Yeah, and both of these decks, that's sort of quite decent early and slowly fade. I know there's good cards in both later on as well, and you can save up combos in particular. There's a Tyrion just hanging in the hand. There's 2 or 3 turns coming up here where they're going to be crucial to who wins, but it's going to look like nothing's happened.
I wonder if this is insane with Annoy module, right? Because also Defense Matrix doesn't proc if the minion already has Divine Shield. Right. So he could go face here and just take multiple hits, or he could just take the value trade. He has the auto Defense Matrix anyway. And in the meantime, this team is just swinging face. I love it.
Yeah, and even the Hidden Wisdom now, you know that Blyze is going to need a swing turn soon, because even though he's got more minions, he's behind. So he's going to have to dump 3 things on the board at some point. He's just, it's a play he has to make.
Finally, though, this Zap is going to get some work done and allow him to trade off this snip stamp that's been on board for many turns right now. Still going to be the 1/1s left as well, which is pretty nice. And most importantly, the Bellringer's just chilling. Just there for another 6 damage next turn. Oh, and by the way, have some more cards, pal.
No, exactly. That was he held on to that until it was going to be really useful. Obviously, you can just play it down, but he just spent his money on better things. Mysterious Challenger. With 2 secrets left in the deck, I think it is.
Not the worst. It's still just, for me, it's a 6/6.
Yeah.
It's a 6/6 and he can Glowtron the 1/1 so it can trade off into one of these novices and live. No, 1 left. Dizdemon really just applying the correct amount of pressure every single turn of this game that Blyze has just had no clean answer to, I think, anything he has done.
It's looked really clean how he's done it. I mean, it's all been... When you explain it, it's been obvious, but he's just done it so naturally. It's like, my big one hits you in the face and my small one kills your minion. It's been that. And that sounds, okay, well, that's obvious. Why are you talking about this? Well, it's obvious when you see it happening, but he's chosen to leave up pairs. He's chosen to leave up bits and pieces in return for this damage. And it's making a huge difference. He's got his opponent down to 16, and he's got all this on the board, plus a Tyrion Ashbringer still to come.
Yeah, even after a curve like this, and even after a pretty good turn for Blyze, honestly, it's just not enough. There's Mysterious Challenger still alive as a 6/4. Tyrion now comes down on curve. There's going to be a bit of healing from this life drink as well.
And let's not
Swing and
forget
a miss on the evolve.
what he did on turn 1. You know, coin Finley, get myself a hero power, shoot some things, and that...
Get a minion that kills stuff.
The hero powers just kill things throughout the game, and this is why he's in front.
So Secret Keeper's definitely a card that can be pulled here. Yeah. Hungry Crab, no good targets right now.
He's pulled it. Good.
No secrets left in the deck, but still. I think the most important thing this does, and it's probably going to get old pretty quick, is it just makes his next draw better because he isn't drawing 1 drops or as many 1 drops.
So normally I find that argument like sort of futile, but in this particular deck it does it so well that I think that might be why some people underrate the deck a little bit. It's like your draws are pretty good when you get to this point. You've sucked a lot of the rubbish out of your deck.
It's the same with Hunter. That's why Subject Name's good.
Yeah.
Drawing a secret 1 by 1 is bad. Getting all of the secrets out of your deck and all your other cards are really good when you have secrets in hand.
Let's move quickly.
Now Dizdemon working out what exactly he wants to do. I think pinging off the elemental's fine. Pinging face obviously sets up lethal as well, but if he pings off the elemental, it's just like his board is cleared. Now, xBlyzes has to do magnificent things. He has to kill Tyrion without giving him a weapon, kill the 6-4, kill the 5-5, or put taunts there, and shock horror, he cannot do all these things. Dizdemon gonna take, again, almost a paint by numbers win, and that's no disrespect to him as a player, but he just played good Hearthstone, curved well, and won that game.
Yeah, and when we are critical of players for not doing that, the opposite side, you've got to be complimentary when they do that, because even though it looks straightforward, the number of times, the whole point is they make mistakes. When you don't make an obvious mistake, when you just play the game nice and clean, you've got to say that's just good.
It really is one of the biggest things Darek and I were talking about during Asia Pacific, was that the execution was not at the point it should have been for players of the level of Grandmasters throughout the season. There were turns and there were points in games, and even plans, like matchup plans, were not as clean as we would expect. So honestly, although it's not particularly flashy, just very solid Hearthstone. Dizdemon did not put himself in a position where xBlyzes could really ever have a good turn against him, almost no matter what his hand was. It was never going to be a strong turn, and because of that, he punished him and won the game. So looking really strong for Dizdemon. I expect nothing less though, because he's been around and been playing pretty high quality Hearthstone for many years now. And I believe now it's going to come down to the point, Lorinda, where a Shaman has to win. It's called a mirror match.
Shaman versus Shaman, France versus France. 2 versus 1.
It's all kicking off.
Spoiled the symmetry.
Yep. Although, like I said, it's going to be very interesting, because these decks, I am pretty sure, maybe not exactly card for card, but as close to a mirror match as you're going to get. There isn't much leeway in how people are building this deck nowadays. I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a...
Actually, there's a few things
There's
here.
a Witchwood Piper in there as well, which is a little bit different in Dizdemon's list.
xBlyzes has got the former champ, and Dizdemon's got the Barista, and xBlyzes doesn't.
Surely they're both playing Barista.
No, xBlyzes doesn't, unless I'm looking at the wrong list or something crazy.
Nope, you're right. And I feel a bit sick at that, honestly.
I thought that might perk you up a bit.
I think not playing Barista is a terrible idea. I'm sure xBlyzes has his reasons, and it's probably tournament/meta read in some way. Maybe he thinks Barista is too slow in what he expected to be an aggro matchup, or an aggro meta, should I say. So if that's his excuse, then that's fine. I just think that Barista on its own is so powerful in the deck in many matchups that it feels bad to miss out on it. But we'll see how it plays out and what is going to end up being the better deck, and maybe even the better pilot as we go into game number 4. Dizdemon and xBlyzes on the Quest Shamans.
I do think you're right there, though, because it's a clear swap for the former champ, which is he's taken away value and added consistency to the deck. He's going to always going to have good targets for his evolves, etc. Whereas the Barista is just going to get you loads of stuff.
I do like stuff, though.
Stuff's great. But so's consistent stuff. We'll find out.
We'll see.
Battle of stuff versus great.
So far, though, xBlyzes not doing anything too crazy right now. Activated the quest on 1, of course. I'm going to just go with a hero power, not go for that Sludge Slurper into X. It's going to wait, and I think this may become a battle of the Mogus.
Yeah, who's going to allow their opponent to play a Mogu or not care?
Dizdemon's like, well, I've got 2. And xBlyzes like, yeah, but I've got 1 and Mutate.
And
so
don't know you've got 2.
And he's just going to do it now, right?
Yeah.
He's just going to pull the trigger. Coin allows him to get the Mogu up. The Mutate, obviously being 0 mana, makes this very easy to deal with. And this is huge. Does he even play the Lackey this turn? I mean, he can, because he can still Mogu, but the 3 attack doesn't change anything, because you always put the Mogu into the 3-2.
I guess sometimes you roll 2 damage Lackey and then you just win the game on the spot. So you drop that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, all I see here is the Goblin Lackey makes Dizdemon have a Mogu.
Sure.
Versus him not. And the Goblin Lackey did nothing except add a 1/1 on the board. I'm not sure if that was needed.
Yeah, my way kills a minion anyway, so that doesn't work out. We'll just
That's what I mean. The Slurper
out.
just traded. If he'd not traded the Slurper and said, "Oh, I'll make them trade it into it," I'd still question it. But I feel that is just very much like you just played a 1-mana 1/1 for no great reason. I don't know.
It's interesting, well, that even though Dizdemon's the one with 2 Mogus, he's on taking his time about it. I know he was shut out there, kind of, but
Oh, I mean, he has to take his time right
He
now
needs to
because
evolve
it's
at
an
some point,
8-8
yeah.
taunt. Like, if it wasn't a taunt, then he would have played it, I think, to get something down. But most importantly, he doesn't have Mutate. He doesn't have it. Well, okay, he has a Witchy Lackey for Evolve now, but he was limited in what he could do there.
I'm sure Witchy Lackey comes up far more than it should in Shaman games.
Of course it's the right
But now
way.
Blyze got rid of that 1-1, which is pretty nice for him. Means that this board is very beefy and also compact, which means that it's not going to open up too much counter swing here.
Of course it's the right
Yeah,
way.
just... This is going to be really close. So much damage coming in for like one more turn, but it's going to change around incredibly quickly in a moment, most likely. If he's not dead.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that Blyze just kills him. There is now Mogu. You can play the Sludge Slurper as well. There's an evolve, but the problem is now he can't really evolve them because, okay, Dizdemon makes a choice here, and this is going to be dependent on the game. He either trades them off and says, you're not having an 8-8, and now I have to continue to fight back on board next turn, or he could try and do an evolve and hope that it's enough to stop the 8-8 as like a taunt or something.
Right.
So it's very difficult.
Because he's got quest complete, because he's got the bigger hand, he may just be comfortable saying, okay, I can beat you with what I've got if I stay alive.
And now the Titanic Lack is pretty good, actually. Because at least he can put taunts in the way. But now that he's played the Witchy Lackey... No, he can still do this. Yeah, Mogu. So he can't evolve? Well, this is tricky. The problem now is, if he evolves, then he can't Titanic Lackey.
He's just going to see what
So
he
he
gets.
just
He's just going to rely on the
might
fact
die.
that math says he should be
Oh,
okay.
what's that? Grom
Oh,
did something. He's one off.
just steal the Grom. Yeah,
Easy.
obvious plays.
I guess like, so he can kill one minion.
Engaging
Oh,
TC
Just steal the Grom.
mental dislocator.
I wonder if he should just kill the minion instead. And then MCT.
I guess he's just more interested in controlling the board for next turn rather than trying to get it over with this game.
Oh yeah.
Like the math's fooling this turn, obviously
Oh.
kill a minion first.
Oh, well, if you're just going to keep hitting him with Kobold Lackeys, then we can talk. Hero Power into Life Drinker is available for Dizdemon, so we can see he can push him out of the range of the Kobold Lackeys, but there's what? There's a 4-3 goes in. That trades the... That trades the 2, 4, 6... So he's got actually pretty good trades on the board here.
Yeah, shame he hasn't, for him, that he hasn't got a spell to turn his mana worm into not a mana, or into a minion that can kill something.
No, the mana
Takes
kills the
3-1,
3-1. Yeah, that's fine, because nothing else does. So,
Sure.
whatever. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These trades are actually pretty sick. Kill off the 3-2. 5-5 still lives. And there's life drinker. I mean, that is insane.
He's used so much on just not dying, though. Like I was saying, I thought he might turn the corner if he could survive, but surviving has cost him his hand.
Love Witchwood Piper, though, which helps. Normally gets Lackey generation. And he already has quest active, whereas Blyze is only just hitting his quest activation now.
Is this lethal?
But that's going to be enough because of he can hit the quest activation, get the Lackeys procced, and that will do it. Blyze is going to even up this series and go 2-2. Honestly, forgive me a little bit. I didn't realize what number Blyze's quest was on to realize he could do that easily. But that is going to even up the series there. Dizdemon and Blyze going to be 2-2. Shaman does take it, as it has to in the mirror.
It's going to be up against the Druid, so reverse of game number 1.
Yeah, it's
You're
going to be
looking
going.
at me as if I'm...
No, I was looking at the weird graphics, the way they just
okay, sure.
randomly changed to Warlock and Rogue.
Yeah, it makes
but
it
it
more
was a
interesting.
Shaman
We haven't
mirror.
seen much Warlock.
Yeah, I thought that there was a chance that's like a slow sort of like the Quest Mechathune Warlock could make an appearance in this tournament, but I didn't expect so many people to go towards aggro so quickly, so it was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, these people read the meta really well, because I thought we'd see an amount of Cthulhu of various classes, and there's basically none here. There is some, but
Yeah, not a lot.
they're right, because the meta is far more aggressive than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I honestly didn't see so much. I didn't foresee so much like Highlander Paladin, which is basically aggro Highlander Paladin, and then also just the amount of rogue.
The amount
as
of
well.
rogue. Obviously, we
crazy.
expected rogue, but I didn't think it would be just everywhere like it is.
Yeah, well, these players are 2-2 now. We've got one more game to go, but we're going to be going to a break before we get into game number 5. So we'll be right back with some more Masters Tour Bucharest. We are back for the final game here between Dizdemon and xBlyzes, and it's been a close one, very back and forth. Both players taking pretty convincing wins over each other throughout this series, but there is only one more game left. Who are you feeling that's going to take it, Lorinda?
Put me on the spot. I think Dizdemon will take this. I think that the Shaman is favoured against the Druid, despite your objections to me personally, and I'm interested to see if Solari can get another player into GM.
Yeah, why not?
Felkin.
Just chuck them all in. We'll see how it goes here. Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier on as well, the Druid for both these players, one already having a win, of course, but is the minion-based Scenaris and King Fioris version. So we'll see how it lines up. It did look very convincing when Dizdemon won the matchup earlier on, so we'll see if this one can even up the score between Shaman and Druid. I'm quite excited to see how it plays out. But overall, apart from one mind control tech, I don't think there's anything that really stands out. There's nothing too crazy in this list, so it's very much a standard of what you'll even be pretty used to seeing on ladder as well.
Yeah, tournament. I mean, for all we talk about, don't copy a tournament deck and play it on ladder and drop your pen and all that stuff.
Yeah.
In general, if you did copy a tournament deck, as long as you're aware that one or two of your cards are going to be wrong, you'll do okay. They're usually similar enough. Let's see what happens. Opening hands are on the screen, you can see.
Yeah, and Blyze, not too bad. The Zephyrus is not going to be active for a while, but very much could come down just as a 2-drop. Maybe not on 2, but as a 2-drop on 3 to be able to just contest some of these minions.
Oh, no.
Whereas Dizdemon is going to start getting things cooking a little bit. The Evolve is there with the hair. There's another Questing Explorer as well, so it means that he can just go. This is probably the best hand he could have versus Druid especially.
Yeah. Blyze has got that hand where you go turn 1, use my Innovate, turns 2, 3, 4, wait for you to kill me and hope I get out of it. And those hands don't. I mean, he's got double Starfall and MC Tech. Those things don't always end well.
Yeah, he's got the double Starfall. He's got the Mind Control Tech to help him out, especially after this hair turn. But also, he does have Hidden Oasis. So even if he takes a lot of damage, the game only really ends when the portrait explodes, right? Because the Hidden Oasis is such a good recovery tool, not only healing for 12 post-quest, of course, but also putting that 6/6 on the board as a taunt, which means that it kind of soaks up even more damage than 12. So we'll have to see how it plays out. This Evolve's going to be a pretty big one here.
Yeah, to get there, he's going to have to float mana, though. If he floats mana, he's just
He's fine.
not going to get there.
Engaging TC1.
Wait, there was...
That's why I paused.
There was no Evolve.
Yeah, I think he was waiting to see if he got MC Tech and then evolve what's left, which is pretty not...
I think what he's doing really is going full
Second
greed
hair.
because there would have had to been exactly swipe to punish this.
And here he
And
goes.
if it's swipe, then he's off quest anyway. So now we see the biggest of evolves come down, and
That'll do
outcome
it.
is insane.
I see lots of numbers, that's just fine.
Water Elemental, fantastic. Valor Teacher, fantastic. Even the 3/6 on the far left, the deal 1 to you face... No.
You've dug this hole, you can continue.
Yep. But overall, this is just very, very solid. Even the Mutate to get another 4/5 on the board. Wow.
Yeah, Starfall that.
Starfall's a hell of a card, though.
I mean, yes and no. Yes, it's a hell of a card.
Okay, double Starfall in 2 turns is pretty good.
That's the interesting point.
You can clear a good chunk of this board off. Or at least enough of it to survive.
Oh, he could, yeah, he definitely hang in there. But I'm just looking at the follow-up from Dizdemon. It's almost nothing, but it's still a lot. Because this is where the Druid can struggle, is where it's got so much to deal with. And obviously you're not facing this very often on
I was
turn
gonna say,
5.
this is where most decks struggle, Lorinda, where someone plays hair, evolve, which is generally a pretty rough time.
The reason that Nourish is so important in this deck is you can usually only do one thing at a time.
Right.
Whereas in Nourish turns, obviously you can do 2 things much more readily.
Honestly, this is not that bad. The recovery is there. Starfall is so strong,
Yeah.
and even if it's not good next turn, there's Oasis, or there's even Nourish, depending, but I think it would be a forced Oasis next turn. If Blyze can pick up an Anubisat Defender, there's a chance that he can live.
He's not far, given what has happened to him, he's not far off having the best hand he could hope for to try to deal with it.
And the big thing here in Quest Shaman is there's no burst damage.
Yeah.
There's no Bloodlust coming down, right? Unless it's discovered. There's no Vicina. So there's not this like lightning bolts, Vicina, Lickums, Bloodlust that's coming down. So there is a chance now. And if Hidden Oasis is played this turn, it means that there is only really facing down 3 damage on board if 2 of them have to trade in.
Yeah. I do agree. It'd be interesting. The second Oasis.
It's insane. It's so good. And now he has Starfall Wrath. And the second he can get away with Nourish knowing he won't die, he's in such a good spot.
Yeah, if he gets that off there, especially now he's got a bit of backup with the Wraths and even the Starfalls. And he's managed to save the Innovate, which is a thing you don't often see in this deck because you're usually using it to complete quests. Yeah, if he gets to that point, and it's looking like he might, this will turn around. And he's done well not to panic. Like, he's not started screaming and shouting or anything. He's just continued.
Like some players we've seen this weekend.
Yeah, might happen before, but...
This is very good, though. The active quest, Hero Power with the Wasp, is huge. And how much is that now?
That's now a lot.
It's 12.
He gets the second go at it, but this time the Hidden Oasis doesn't look quite so impressive.
With Innovate Wrath, it's still not horrible. That's a good pickup, though.
That's the card he needed.
So wait, what does Starfall do? If xBlyzes had a low T, that would be so sick.
So he's trying to work out if this is enough removal. Obviously, it's really tasty.
So
So he's got the Innovator Hidden Oasis after he sees his card.
I mean, Starfall's another minion, probably the 3/5. He trades in the Mind Control tech as well. This just, again, it's not half bad, and there's no burst. And the Anubisat just is crazy good. It's literally his best draw in his deck right there.
It turns out that doing things for 0 mana when you're a long way behind is really crucial.
Right. Wait, which one did he kill there? What was the minion he killed?
Pass.
Okay.
I was looking at numbers, trying to work out how
I was working out which one it was. Obviously, he leaves the Blood Witch alive, but the Violet Teacher might make more tokens, and now there's no Starfall, so there's a thought there of the Violet Teacher maybe being more valuable to kill out. So I still can't only 6 damage.
And the Druid hand is getting better and better. Shaman is slowly deteriorating, but 3 health. I know that's now 15, but...
Next turn, though, with Nourish and Oasis Surge is pretty huge.
Woof.
So there's Mogu, and there's chances at damage lackeys as well to help out with this. Any evolves are going to look pretty good as well. There's Witchy and there's more health. So I wonder now if he ever Mogu and then tries to Titanic Lackey the Mogu enough so it can get trades off.
And with double Starfall gone as well, he doesn't mind if some of the minions are, a 3/2 or something is perfectly fine.
So he can Mogu Titanic Lackey, right?
Yep.
Trade a 3 attack off into it, or maybe a 2/1 and a 1/1. Then evolve. Well, then hit face for 8. Then he evolves. That looks really good, actually. I'm just working out whether he can do anything else. This gets a little bit tricky with mana.
Yeah, and I'm keeping an eye on the Evolve Violet Teacher thing as well. Because that can get messy if you get it wrong.
Yeah, now he can trade. He can Titanic Lackey. So the Mogu gets value from Rush without dying. Yeah, this looks pretty
Looks like he got that pretty close to me.
He even has a backup Witchy Lackey in case the Evolve sucks. Oh no, he doesn't. Oh. Well, Oasis Surge ain't that good. I don't even know what he's
Where's
fishing
your
for
Oasis Surgeon now, Raven?
I mean, this has literally been some of the most insane Shaman pressure I've ever seen. The fact that he survived Hair Evolve was nuts to begin with, and even the pressure after that. But that's not going to be it. Dizdemon goes 6-1 now, taking down xBlyzes in a very, very close series there. But he made it work with just relentless Evolve pressure. So really good play there, really solid. Shout out to xBlyzes though, that was so close in him. He looked like he was just about to secure the game with Druid and stabilize about 3 or 4 times in that one.
Yeah, another player that's very active on the scene, again in the community. So shame they had to play each other so early, or it's getting towards the business end now. Yeah. But it is Solari, so goody for Dizdemon. He's nearly there.
He is, yeah. He's looking really good. His play was looking really, really solid as far as I was concerned. His lineup's strong, so I think Dizdemon's definitely a player you should always keep your eye on, but especially in this tournament, based on how well he's doing there. Looking pretty good. Any final words on that series?
Just, whoof. I mean, they're very similar lineups when you actually break it down. They had differences within there. One of the decks was actually different, but it still functioned the same way. Rogue or Highlander Paladin. Right. Different preference, but doing the same job in there. So it was always going to be close, and it was the boy.
People love to see that, don't they? Let's take a look at the standings you can see now. Orange, these are not final standings, I don't think, so I think there's still some of the round being played out. Yeah. But Orange 7-0, looking great. And if Orange does it, and if he makes it back into Grandmasters after being relegated this season, it will be one of the best stories that we've probably ever seen in Hearthstone. And then we see, Xeno's still up there, Hypno's up there at 6-1, Pain's up there, Monsanto and Hunter Ace rocking it as well, proving that the GMs can keep going along with Eddie. It's looking pretty strong overall.
And I wonder if Hunter Ace, who felt bad because he lost the game that meant Orange was eliminated, he may end up have a chance to play spoiler here, because if he can win this tournament, or do incredibly well in this tournament. It's a slot that another European player can't get if Orange is doing well.
Yeah.
So he can try and win it for his own good, but also, once again, winning for his own good and could protect Orange. It's a chance for him to redeem himself as well.
Yeah, also as well, look at Possessi there, one of the players looking great for APAC Grandmasters, and if, you know, he's already in a great spot there, and he's looking to continue his dominance in these Masters Tours events, and looks like it could be very, very likely indeed that we will see him in Grandmasters next season.
Although Kin is up there too, Asia Games champion.
Yep.
See how he gets on there as well. Got a hunch, and I haven't been told anything, that we're probably going to see him in a moment, given that those scores weren't updated.
No comment. I actually just don't know who we're going to see anyway. But that was a pretty cool game overall. We are going to be done for now, but hope you enjoyed that match. We've got plenty more matches coming up from this round as well, so we'll be right back with some more Hearthstone.